In our exploration of production, we haven't yet talked about how all this activity takes place in the context of a planet with ecosystems, weather, finite material resources, and functionally infinite biocomplexity. A contemporary framing of this dynamic is called the circular economy. In pre-industrial times, environmental social issues were local issues. If someone was doing something with their property that was negatively impacting someone else, they'd go to the local authorities and sort it out. With the advent of industrial production in the U.S., production ballooned, but so did the environmental consequences of that production. First, quantities of effluents were now such that persons were affected much farther downstream, and not just locally. Second, the persons responsible might not live locally either. Thus, a higher level of governance was needed to handle the environmental consequences of industrialization. The initiation of a cohesive environmental movement quickly followed the publication of Rachel Carson's Silent Spring in 1962, and the idea of circularity came from Kenneth Boulding's The Economics of the Coming Spaceship Earth in 1966. Today, the environmental movement is subsumed by a global array of NGOs. For details of this takeover, see Schellenberger and Nordhaus in your optional reading. Modern environmental concerns appear to fall into several categories: climate change, the Anthropocene, planetary boundaries, and the circular economy, none of which are completely distinguishable from the others. The circular economy currently has many definitions. The most specific and prevalent is that the natural resources should cycle through the production and consumption process many times before ending up in incinerators or landfill. Whether or not the circular economy mandates degrowth is debated. Let's take a look at recent presentations of the circular economy by institutions who should know something about it: the European Environmental Agency, the World Economic Forum, and the Ellen MacArthur Foundation.
Life is a circle. All that grows returns to where it began, the earth. Life is a circle. All that grows returns to where it began, the earth. And from there it grows again, forming a perfect cycle. But we have broken that cycle. Our economy is growing unsustainably at the expense of nature. We have created a linear economic model. Make, use, dispose. We extract millions of tons of natural resources every year and turn them into materials that we use and consume. And then we simply throw them away. But what if we designed products that we can reuse, refurbish, and repair, and only extract new resources when we really need them? We would use less new materials and energy and protect our natural wealth. Inspired by nature, a circular approach would boost the European economy, contributing to innovation and job growth, as well as reducing pollution and helping the environment by preserving our precious natural resources. Carpooling, recycling materials, repairing and reusing, using green energy. Many things we already do are part of going circular. A circular economy is possible and brings new opportunities. And it isn't just good for nature and the economy, it's good for our quality of life and our health. A circular economy is a good way of living well within the limits of our planet.
A planet that needs to provide 50% more energy, 50% more food, 30% more water over the next couple of decades, it simply is not going to happen unless we change the way that we consume.
The circular economy is a fundamentally different economic model. It's taking the entire global economy looking at it through a different lens and saying, how can we valorize our economy to a higher level? So never at any point would anything made within a circular economy become waste.
In all the systems, we are basically not properly addressing the need for change.
In a circular economy thinking, we actually will recuperate the value of the product when it comes to the end of its life cycle.
Look at the commodity indexes of the last 100 years. We saw that price come down for a century. The problem is those prices have more volatility in them than we've ever seen before in history.
The supply of these polymers are one of the most abundant resources we have on a daily basis. If you use less energy, you use less chemical to produce new material, of course you're going to have financial savings.
This is the largest business opportunity ever seen by our species.
With recurring revenues that come out of a base of customers that will take my product as a service, I can build a very profitable and recurring revenue stream.
It has developed over time exactly into a virtual ownership of the material throughout the whole product life cycle.
What the customer needs to see is personal benefit to them. They've got to walk into a shop, into a store online and see that they buy a product and service that they want. It's sexy, it's aspirational, it's the right price point. And by the way, it's also circular.
With technology, materials, science, the Internet of Things, we can use our innovation and creativity to really build an economy that is more circular.
Living systems have been around for a few billion years and will be around for many more. In the living world, there's no landfill. Instead, materials flow. One species' waste is another's food, energy is provided by the sun, things grow, then die, and nutrients return to the soil safely. And it works. Yet as humans, we've adopted a linear approach. We take, we make, and we dispose. A new phone comes out, so we ditch the old one. Our washing machine packs up, so we buy another. Each time we do this, we're eating into a finite supply of resources and often producing toxic waste. It simply can't work long term. So what can? If we accept that the living world's cyclical model works, can we change our way of thinking so that we too operate a circular economy? Let's start with the biological cycle. How can our waste build capital rather than reduce it? By rethinking and redesigning products and components, and the packaging they come in, we can create safe and compostable materials that help grow more stuff. As they say in the movies, no resources have been lost in the making of this material. So what about the washing machines, mobile phones, fridges? We know they don't biodegrade. Here, we're talking about another sort of rethink, a way to cycle valuable metals, polymers, and alloys so they maintain their quality and continue to be useful beyond the shelf life of individual products. What if the goods of today became the resources of tomorrow? It makes commercial sense. Instead of the throw away and replace culture we've become used to, we'd adopt a return and renew one, where products and components are designed to be disassembled and regenerated. One solution may be to rethink the way we view ownership. What if we never actually owned our technologies? We simply licensed them from the manufacturers. Now, let's put these two cycles together. Imagine if we could design products to come back to their makers, their technical materials being reused and their biological parts increasing agricultural value. And imagine that these products are made and transported using renewable energy. Here we have a model that builds prosperity long term. And the good news is, there are already companies out there who are beginning to adopt this way of working. But the circular economy isn't about one manufacturer changing one product. It's about all the interconnecting companies that form our infrastructure and economy coming together. It's about energy. It's about rethinking the operating system itself. We have a fantastic opportunity to open new perspectives and new horizons. Instead of remaining trapped in the frustrations of the present, with creativity and innovation, we really can rethink and redesign our future.
If you found those a bit light conceptually, you're not alone. See the Krovelik et al. Critique of current circular economy scholarship in your reading list. LEGO attempted to use recycled plastic for its famous blocks, but recently abandoned that effort when they came to understand that they would release more carbon in processing the plastic to recycle than they released using their original petroleum-based plastic. See the Wall Street Journal article in your reading for more information. In the pre-industrial world, consumption meant the annihilation of what was produced such that whatever was left over became inputs again into another cycle. We see this creation-annihilation process play out in healthy ecosystems. Though the circular economy discussion is often framed as a matter of overconsumption, it could also be viewed as an inability to appropriately consume all that we produce, or that we produce things that aren't strictly consumable. The Onondaga Lake sits on a unique natural salt formation that produces salt springs. Brine is an input into the solvay process for producing soda ash, a precursor for many common consumption products, such as glass detergents and paper. The Solvay Process Company set up on the shores of Onondaga Lake and began producing soda ash in 1884. A waste product of the process is calcium chloride, which the company released into the lake. The company, which merged with Allied Chemical and later Honeywell, is estimated to have produced 50% more calcium chloride waste than it ever produced soda ash, depositing 6 million pounds of salt waste in the lake daily until the Syracuse works closed almost 100 years later in 1986. The Onondaga Nation's fight with Honeywell to adequately restore the lake is ongoing, and I provided some links with more information about the extent of the pollution and the cleanup work in your reading materials. The concept of a circular economy, with its implied limit cycles and overt ecosystem and biological analogies, is a complexity concept. See the Waltzberg paper in your reading list for a survey of agent-based models of circular economies.